way how I understand this is basically you have questionnaire or a quiz that a company can send out to all the employees, let them answer that. And I remember maybe a year and a half ago there was a very loud story about something related when a company ran a mental health test on the employees to measure the level of stress, and then they fired everyone who has a high stress level because they don't want them to be stressed at the work. This is like extreme example, right? But on the other hand, they knew specific persons who had issues, and you have this cumulative result, basically an average temperature in the hospital. So based on the average temperature in the hospital, we have sick people, so we need to do something. But how can you address that directly and help this particular individual directly with their issues without knowing who they are?
So there are two parts here. One is what the company sees, and the other one is what the employee or the person will see. So what the personnel department, the HR department will see is an aggregate number divided by, for example, functions or divisions or whatever you have, in a way that is guaranteed that there is no possibility to understand who the different people are. What you see is the environment. You evaluate the stress within the environment rather than in specific people. And this is because the company can act if specific areas are particularly affected by one of these dimensions. Clearly, there are some areas of the companies that will be, for example, under stress. Typically, customer relationship. They tend not to be necessarily the happiest people in the world. Of course, it's a very stressful job. But then there is the individual. The individual is helped with, with some kind of suggestions and helps in coping with the problems they have. And also, they can be suggested to continue along a specific path. The path is defined by the law. This is quite important. If you are in a specific situation, the law requires that your company helps you in a specific way. So there is a moment where the employee can act on this and ask to be supported as required by law. I would like to say one thing about the companies that fire the employees who are stressed. Well, yes, if a company is trying to fire people, that's okay. But most companies, especially in IT, have the opposite problem. They want to keep people. So the real issue is this is an asset for you and you want to keep them, because losing any computer scientist or engineer, software engineer, is generally a serious problem because you may not be able to replace them. So I think there may be industries where this could happen, but the system will not allow that because it's anonymous. But I think, especially for IT, it's quite the opposite. You want to help.
I see. Samuel, Lorenzo, would you like to expand?
Yeah. Wellbimo, if your company does not like to monitor stress, Wellbimo is possible to use it for example, engagement and other positive things to monitor. For example, if you want to monitor the work-life balance or the level of activity that your worker have outside of your company, for example, you want to know if people like to walk and to do sport after their work, you can do it with our quizzes. For example, if you with their answer you see that people does not do a lot of sports during their free time, you can try to have, for example, a day of the week where you put a little group and they can do some kind of sport, for example, during the lunch break, and then you can monitor, for example, if the stress gets low or other kind of things. The idea is to experiment with the people, experiment to help them, try to find the best solution for everyone, and try to make everyone life at work a little better. Because a little better for each one of the people, it's a lot for the company.
Yeah, and one of the things we offer is also correlation between data. You can see, for example, if a department has a higher anxiety and why there is that higher anxiety, because, for example, there is a low work-life balance experience, or, for example, people don't feel like their job is important inside their work, and so on. So This is a very important thing, the correlation between data.
Another tricky question. When it comes to sending the employee questionnaires, how do you make sure that people who receive this questionnaire, they not just simply answer with correct answers in order to, I'd say, I don't know, to comply or not to create additional stress for the employers? Because, for example, they might think, okay, I might be a troubled person for them. They need to spend more money on helping me coping with my stress, improve my productivity with that. They don't want to deal with that. I will try to act safe and I will answer correct. I will select a good point so that I present to them to a good and healthy person.
That's why they are validated scientifically, because you cannot trick them. So
You cannot trick science.
The point is, most of the validated questionnaires in health in general, in medicine and health, are always designed exactly for that. I worked for ages with a cardiologist, for example, and they, one of the things they used to say jokingly, but not much jokingly, was, when a new patient comes and I ask a question, I never listen to what they say. If I ask them, how are you? Have you had any problem with your heart recently? I don't listen to them. I notice how they talk, because that's far more important. Most of these questionnaires are exactly designed so that when people think, he used to tell me, we used to live in the north of Britain, of England, people are miners or they work in the steel industry. So there is the myth of the person is very strong. We used to say, I have a person with a triple bypass and two serious heart rate problems. You ask how they are doing. They say, oh, never been so well, banging on the chest, exactly what they shouldn't do. Clearly, that's exactly what happens in health. So the questionnaires are validated in a way that they can pick up these kind of signals. And that's why it's very important to have a doctor on board and a psychologist on board. So being scientifically grounded means that you don't fall in these tricks. There are companies providing, things where you give 5 smiley faces if you're feeling well. That's not validated. What you get is just what you get on social media, basically. So no, it's very important. This is why these questionnaires are validated.